going live. This Hangout airs live, and now I need to get the link to the event page and share it on my Twitter. Do you have a Twitter thing open?
Twitter thing?
Yeah, come watch, like an app or something.
Yeah, I got Twitter open in a different window.
Come watch our Google Hangout to talk about the Olympia Heights Kickstarter. Ask questions and we'll answer them. Link. So, we're not going to have any viewers for a little bit. Hopefully, some people will chime in pretty soon. But I will go on Facebook in the meantime. Can you see the viewer number, or can only I?
Hold on,
It's down at the bottom of the screen.
I think only you can see it.
Okay, I was gonna have you alert me if someone started watching us. But I just will have to. They'll just have to see me clicking around on Facebook. A Google Hangout. Boom, Facebook. Seriously, computer? Thank you. All right. I am working all week, so that will stop me from obsessively checking the Kickstarter.
I got emails.
You got emails?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Of course, because I've launched a Kickstarter, I've gotten the inevitable stream of, here, pay me $250 to $500 and I'll get you Kickstarter backers.
It's like,
Some of the sites have been, you know, pretty decent template WordPress sites that, like, I could have built in an afternoon, but some of them I'm like, whoa, dude, you're sketchy. Like,
yeah.
I mean, still, a template site that I could have built in an afternoon is not really any indicator that you're a professional who's not going to run off with my money and give me nothing. Everybody just wants to pay for Google ads for me. I'm like, I'm not buying Facebook ads, because in my experience, they've been a waste of money. Why would I don't need to pay you to set up Facebook ads for me, because I know how to do it, and they're terrible. Let's see. Yeah, so nobody yet. So I guess you just start drawing, and we can just talk, and we'll just keep it, oh, I need to close this window back here with the Hangout so we don't have the problem we had the other night on the show, where somebody had clicked play and we were hearing ourselves in 30-second delay. Oh, we have a viewer. Hello, viewer.
Hey.
If you have any questions, send us a message on at Amy L. Strickland. Let me show you that Twitter handle. Oh, it's right. No, I did not put Twitter. You can use the hashtag Olympia Heights, and I'll check that. And you can send it at Amy L. Strickland. I'm going to type it up here. Choose logo. No, that's unnecessary. So let's switch to Sam's screen so you can see some art while we talk. Oh, okay. Sam, switch to your art screen.
There we go.
I have a new message from Tina via Twitter. Is Tina a real human being, or is Tina a spammer trying to tell me that I can? Oh, good. Tina is somebody who just supported my Thunderclap. Yeah, let you guys know about the Thunderclap. So, if you're a backer of the project and you go to the most recent backer update, the one that was made today, down at the bottom underneath the Hermes t-shirt reveals is a big blue link that says pledge your social media post to spread the word. And let me show you what Thunderclap is. How do I do a screen share? Screen share! I'm going to show you my share. So here's what a Project Thunderclap is. Sam, are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
All right. And Project Thunderclap, oh, well, let's switch over to it so they can see it. Project Thunderclap is a kind of thing like Kickstarter. It's a crowdfunding source, and if you are into, publishing your own books, this might be useful information for you. Basically, right now we have 11 out of 100. Just like Kickstarter, you have a goal and you have a number you've reached. And this is calculating from the people who've pledged to it. This is how many people will be reached. And we have 19 days left. So on the 25th of October at 1 p.m., if we reach 100 people here, this message is going to get pushed out to all of the pledged Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Apparently I have not supported with Twitter. I'll have to go look into that later. So you can see here some of the most recent supporters, like Terry Strickland of Terry Strickland Art, who, coincidentally happens to be my mother-in-law, has pledged her 3,556 connections to this project. So you're helping to spread the word about our Kickstarter by... Whoop, there goes my camera. You're helping to spread the word about our Kickstarter by pledging there, and if we don't hit 100, nobody on your social media gets bothered, but, on October 25th, if we hit 100 people, boom, thunderclap, everybody tweets and Facebooks and all that fun stuff. So, Sam, why don't you tell us what you're drawing?
Okay, well, right now I'm drawing page 7 of the comic, which is the first, page after all of the titles and whatnot. And this is basically an establishing shot of the Elysian Fields, which is, the basically Greek heaven. Amy will correct me on this if I'm wrong, because she's the mythology scholar. But the Greek afterlife is basically, there's the Elysian Fields, which is the honored dead, the heaven, or in a way, there's Tartarus, which is where the hell where you're punished, and then pretty much the bulk of everyone else goes through getting their memories wiped and is reincarnated in a new form.
Yeah, and the reincarnation thing happens at certain points in the ancient Greek history, but I really like it because I feel like the chilling out in the, with your memory wiped in the Lethe and then just like floating around as a soulless thing is kind of depressing. And the Elysian Fields are really, they're like the, I guess you would say Valhalla, only you don't have to just die awesomely in battle to get in there. It's really for the heroes. The heroes end up in the Elysian Fields, and they get paradise, and so it's not going to be like, oh, you were not a tool, so you get to go there. It's, you got to be really bad to go to Tartarus, and you got to really just tick off the gods. I mean, you could be even a totally nice person who does one thing that really ticks off the gods, and you could get there. And you got to be really awesome to go to the Elysian Fields. So I really like incorporating the later belief of reincarnation, where there's a certain waiting period between, death and when your soul is washed clean of memory and you're reincarnated. And it's not really kind of an earned reincarnation thing like with, Hinduism or Buddhism, where you're trying to work up the level from cockroach to human to free. It's just you start over. So yeah, this scene is at the beginning. This is kind of, ancient Greek mythology stuff, but this is the one ancient Greek scene that's not going to be in Sam's amphora style that he developed for us, because it is happening presently. It's not a flashback, folks. So that's some exciting stuff. All right, let me see if I have any comments coming in. Whoever's watching, if you want to tweet at Amy L. Strickland. Where is it? On. Can I turn this thing on? There we go. You can see my Twitter handle there. If you want to tweet at me with any questions, we can answer them. They could be, technical questions about the comic or about the Kickstarter, or they could be like silly stuff about ice cream flavors. As long as they're respectful questions, we should be able to entertain you and answer them. Oh, so good news today. We got an email that said that we were selected as one of the new noteworthy staff picks by Kickstarter. So Kickstarter has taken notice of our project. They think it's all around pretty well done, and I'm excited about it. We got Maria Potter, one of our volunteers and one of our backers. She let us know that some people that she was handing out cards to this weekend. Thank you, Maria. Letting us know that they thought they looked pretty professional, so we're pretty proud of that. And we just want to let you know we're a staff pick, so you should share our project with your friends and be like, hey, this person I kind of know on the internet, or maybe you went to school with me, you know. They got a staff pick on Kickstarter. Use it as your I know somebody bragging rights. I just heard a little bloop. Was that your computer, Sam?
Yep, that looks like that was a Facebook alert.
Okay, just making sure that I'm not like missing messages here because I can't. I can't Google. The Google Hangouts thing is really complex and really awesome in what it can do, but it's definitely I'm not really sure how to use this comment tracker thing at all. So there's that. Let me see if I can find the show page. Google Plus. I don't know, to see if anybody's leaving comments because I'm not sure how to get them from this window. There we go. Oh, and look it, I've got 2 Hangouts going because I need to delete the second one because I totally I don't even know which one is 7:07 p.m. Yeah, I started one and then I accidentally closed away from it and I couldn't find it. So that was awesome. So where we are in the process right now, let's talk about that. Delete this event. Yes, delete event. Okay. So where we are in the process right now, we have a script and a binder. It is mostly edited. The parts that Sam are drawing are edited already, but we have a couple things on our table right now. So we're going to be trying to get him those pages as he gets through this early stuff that's already been edited. If you have backed this project on Kickstarter, our viewer's gone, but that's okay because we are on YouTube later. If you have backed this project on Kickstarter, you will see that we have 10 pages up already, demo, and that is kind of this iconic scene that was in the first novel, and we're kind of porting it directly over. Zach Jacobs, quarterback of the football team, is struck by lightning on the football field. Then you're going to find out, later that he is the lightning because he's Zeus. Yeah, so, spoiler alert, that's like right at the beginning.
That's pages 14 through 21 of the original script. Now, I know there's been a blank page and a page of art added in there since, so I believe that's now 14 through 23.
Yeah. Yeah, we decided we need an establishing shot. Little changes like that for pacing are the kind of edits we're doing. It's pretty solid where it's going to be, but we need to make those little changes, and we don't need to have Sam draw things over and over again because we decided to change panel placements or whatever.
It's going to be a 200-page book with about, I believe it's going to be somewhere between 165 and 170 pages of art, and then we'll also have, titles and some, written materials added to it as well, describing the art or the mythology behind it, stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's going to be really cool stuff that I really hope that we can get to you guys. But we need to get our $16,000, and I know you might be thinking $16,000, but actually Sam is getting paid really low by industry standards because he's my brother and he decided to be nice. And so, what we really need to do is raise the money to pay him, and then because the packages are so packed with value, you're going to look in there and you're going to see actual printed comics, and you're not going to have to, some of these Kickstarters you have to pledge like $50 before you can get a physical thing, and we're not doing that. $20 is the Philosopher Package. We just added it last night, and that's just the comic printed, nothing else in it. And then for $25, you get ebook version of the comic. You get the entire Olympia Heights collection in ebook, which is $11 worth of value in itself. You get the wallpaper packs, the bookmark. So you get all of that stuff. Excuse me, I had sausage and it is not sitting right. And you get all of that stuff for $25. So because of that, we had to set our goal, and at that $16,000, because probably at least a third of that is going to go towards,
backer
your stuff, what you get, and then my brain just. So at least a third of that's going to go towards stuff that you get, probably closer, about a third. And so we need to make sure that we can still pay Sam for his art. And, industry standard would be like $75 a page, or more, which if you do the math there, we're not getting that. So this is going to be nice, thick, 200-page book. The so many pages, there's going to be some stuff in between, blank pages for spacing and that kind of stuff. But it's going to be full of art. It's going to be a manga-style volume that you're getting, and so it's going to be a lot of artwork. So.
And actually, if I was being paid industry standard, I'd also be passing off after the pencils to separate inkers and colorists who'd be getting paid separately.
Yeah, and he is not doing that. As you may have seen if you've looked at the backer video, the Kickstarter video, we've got halftone shading on all of those, and he's doing that himself. So here's another look at that artwork, how it's progressing. We got our blue guidelines and sketch put in, and now we're going back in with black. This software you're using Manga Studio?
Yep. I switch back and forth between 4 and 5. 4, I think, kind of, since I've got the pro version of 4 and the more amateur version of 5. 4 has a few more tools, but 5, I like the fact that it's all locked into these. All the tools are locked into these columns. It's just a cleaner workspace. So I've been using 4 for the character portraits that are in the backer rewards, and 5 for the actual comic pages.
All right, so using 2 different kinds of software to get this stuff out for you. I do want to show off something right now going on Tumblr, and it's on a couple different Tumblrs. I think every single Tumblr that I have is somehow blogged this, so you'll be able to find it all sorts of places. But let me turn this off and on again. There we go. You can see olympiaheights.tumblr. I guess that should be .tumblr.com. So let me off and on again. There we go. If you go to the Olympia Heights Tumblr, it's also on my personal Tumblr, amyleestrickland.tumblr.com, although you might have to fish back through like superheroes and social activism. And then also my leatherworking blog, Polios Leather, and matterdeepbooks.tumblr.com. So it's like everywhere. We're doing a giveaway right now to promote the Kickstarter, and this is the reward. It is a leather passport wallet. The passport gets tucked in here. You put your driver's license or credit cards in here, cash, maps, that kind of stuff. And it is featuring Hermes, god of merchants, travel, messengers, rustic animals, luck, thieves, pretty much everything that he's like the catch-all. But travel, right? So this is based on Sam's art from the Olympia Heights Designs, and it's fully color stained and sealed with saddle lacquer, and it's even got gold leaf Mercury logo in there, the catechus, and that's sealed in too, so it won't flake off. So basically, you got to follow my leather blog and reblog that post to enter, and at the end of the month, on the last day of the Kickstarter, I'm going to draw a winner. You can reblog it every day. Apparently holding this up in front of the screen has really messed up my color balance. So you can reblog this every day to win it, and I'm going to draw using random.org, random number generator, so that I can send that out to somebody who helps share the Kickstarter. So let's see what we got. Ooh, we got zoomed in. Got some mountains, a temple. Very nice.
And if you have any notes for me while I'm doing this, just let me know right now, because no better time to change something than while
you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good so far.
Maybe I'll put a happy little island here.
Just make sure that your architecture is staying Grecian and not Roman.
I'll have to check that. I know your script calls for a temple that resembles a gazebo, so I may be doing some Google stuff in my hidden windows.
Yeah, you might want to just double check your architecture, just to make sure that the style is accurate. I do have, let's see, I could do a screen share and I could show you guys, I don't know if you'll get the audio. Sam's going to have to let me know if you're going to get the audio. Just for fun, I could re-show the animatic for, let's open up our windows and see what's going on. What have I done? What have I done? We can also talk about character designs.
If we need to fill time, we can just go into random nerd conversations.
Oh, yeah. But we do have a folder full of...
You're getting a little choppy.
Why we made decisions that we made. Oh, I getting slowed down by Finder. I did not open that. I don't know why you think I did. All right, so let's show the animatic. Open that up. For anyone who hasn't watched all the way to the end of the Kickstarter video, which it's not very long, it's a little shorter than average, I think, but just in case you got bored and turned it off, let's show the awesome part. And now I need to get into screen share. Oh, I'm grinding to a halt, aren't I? Let's see. Where'd the bar go? There it is. Screen share. Woo, this is exciting, because it's not doing anything. Okay. Woo! All right, let me try opening the other file format, because I do have it as an MP4 and an MOV, and maybe one of those will run more smoothly.
Or you could just do the YouTube.
There is no sound on this item. Like, I'm not even getting it. I'm confused. We can skip through it with the mouse. Ah, epicness! But we don't have any sound. Is it because my headphones are plugged in? Is it because, I don't know. So, I guess that's not going to happen. Let's try YouTube. Yeah, we can talk about later on in this little hangout. We can talk about our decisions for character designs, which was a lot of back and forth, and also a lot of ideas that I already had in my head from writing an entire novel series. So hopefully, you know, we can entertain you with some of that stuff. All right, let's see. YouTube. My internet is grinding to a halt. Yay, Charter, you're terrible. I'm calling them out on a Google Hangout that 3 people will watch.
I'm on Comcast. They're the devil, but they work.
Yeah, Charter, not so much. They kind of subscribe to that, the AT&T thing where they're like, I don't have any problems here. Should we send a technician out to your house? And then it magically starts working. That's about. All right, there we go. I hear it in my headphones. You'll have to tell me if you hear it when I start screen sharing in your side, Sam. So I don't really unplug my headphones if I can help it, because I have a writer over there editing. So screen share. Oh, I was just saying that you are editing, so I really don't want to unplug my headphones and play loud rock and roll music, if I can help it. Share. All right. Tell me if you hear it. Do you hear it?
Nope.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it?
I see it, but I don't hear it.
Okay. Apparently we're going to have tinny sound. Why doesn't screen share get sound? That's silly.
Jacob takes the ball. Number 33 Miami rushes the QB and holy! Ladies and gentlemen, it appears our quarterback has been struck by lightning.
All right, hang on one second. I will let you have the screen back when I don't have my armpit over the camera so I can plug my headphones back in. All right. Back to me, end screen share. Stop. There we go. All right.
I'm seeing on your screen the words Conan and... Oh, there we go. Now you're back.
Conan?
Yeah, the suggested video is apparently something from Conan O'Brien and something from Ellen.
Okay.
And now you're flying.
Whoa, there we go. No, what? Why does it keep bouncing back and forth? Oh, there's my Twitter, right up there.
Your banner's flying.
That is not. Hang on one second. I'm gonna put my armpit back in the camera. I accidentally plugged it into the. There we go. I plugged the headphones into the microphone. Yeah. What? Why did my screen ratio just change? That's weird. Google? Google, what are you doing? Go home, Google. You're drunk. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some of these character designs, if they'll let me.
So let's go with, since he popped up in the video, pull up the 100-hander.
Oh, yeah, the 100-hander. Okay, let's see. Art. I have folders. I also have the Cyclops on here. Screen share.
Oh, and just because I know my computer hates me, I am going to save this.
Yeah. So there we go. 100-hander. Talk about it.
Okay. So the 100-handers are one of the creatures in Greek mythology that fought on the side of the gods in the war against the Titans. And they pose an interesting challenge just because, you know, they're creatures with 100 arms. And so you kind of, you know, got to figure out how to make that work, because if you have them like all, you know, like you try to do like 100-armed Goro, it doesn't work. All the arms are going to get in each other's way. It's, you know, way too much to draw. So, you know, Amy and I, we were talking back and forth on this when we were looking up ways they've been portrayed in other media, and some of them they're like, we're just going to stop after 12 arms.
Yeah. Kind of like you know, in the Bible where you have like flaming angels with 8,000 sets of wings, and you don't usually get that in most of the classical art.
There was a Magic the Gathering version of the 100-handed one where it was just like, it was this giant, and then there were like 98 other like flying like disembodied marble arms around it.
Which was a pretty cool idea. You gotta, whoever did the art on that, kudos to them for that idea. But then we can't use it because it's somebody else's idea that's really unique.
Yeah. So what, you know, occurred to me during this is, you know, centipede literally means 100 feet. So I kind of took that inspiration, you know, hands instead of feet, but I, you know, figured it would have this like really cool, like, you know, like serpent-like flowing motion as it moved throughout the battlefield, and most of it would be off-panel most of the time, but yeah, it just, the centipede inspiration became, what we have here today.
So it's got this segmented breastplate and just muscly man arms all down its body, holding various swords, shields, spears, axes. So it's just like a ruthless killing machine. So, make it as terrifying as it should be instead of kind of derpy.
It's a blender snake.
Yeah. So we also have a colored version of one of the pages. Let's see if I switch, it's gonna dump it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo screen share and pick this one, share. So you can see it here. You have the 100-hander on the battlefield, and then you have Athena stabbing a Titan and Zeus fighting Kronos. So some cool stuff going on in here. But you kind of get to see that through the flow on the. There we go. Oh, look at it. If I mouse over it, it shows the mouse. Look at that. You kind of get to see some of that flow of the body here going down and beyond the panel, and how it kind of would undulate over the battlefield. So that's pretty cool. So now what I'm going to bring up here is the Cyclops. And for anybody who's like, dude, you spelled it wrong on your package, no, that E is totally meant to be there. So, Cyclops Package, by the way, if you're interested in my leather working, I will make you'll get ebook version and all the wallpapers and all the ebooks, and then I will hand make you, with your favorite god, a tablet case, either for an iPad or for a smaller Kindle. There's a couple different options. So the Cyclops Package, if you want a custom leather case for your e-reader. But let's look at the Cyclops thing. So what this design comes from is we watched this really great documentary a couple of years ago on the Discovery Channel or History Channel or something, I don't remember. One of those smart channels that was talking about this concept of people in ancient Greece found dinosaur bones on a field, and from that they put together, monsters. So if you take the crests on the Triceratops' ridge and you spread them the right way, they could look like wing bones. They found
the specific one was they found an area in, it was either Spain or Portugal, that had a large deposit of Protoceratops skeletons, which were it's a dinosaur that kind of looks like a smaller Triceratops except without the horns, but it does have that lion-like body shape and then the beaked face.
Yes. And they also, they found there was a theory, and it was never really fully proven because they couldn't get any of these bones, but there were temples where people had laid out heroes' bones, and the heroes were supposed to be, monolithic size, like these epically sized people. And they actually found evidence that they might have taken other, prehistoric remains and assembled them wrong to make a standing person.
These weren't even prehistoric. It was if you take an elephant skeleton.
Yes.
Most mammals have, the same a lot of the same bones. It's just sometimes some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. They're arranged a little bit differently, but the bones are typically the same. So if you don't really know what you're doing, you can assemble it to look like something completely different.
And so that's the concept for this Cyclops here.
It's an elephant skeleton, and then the hole on the skull where the trunk attached is what a lot of people speculate, ancient people thought was an eye socket.
One giant central eye socket. So that is why this Cyclops doesn't just look like a dude with one eye. He kind of has this bestial elephant thing going on because that's what he is designed to look like. Let's show off some other stuff. Let's see what I got. Model sheets. All right. We will open up some of these. So I'm just going to go in alphabetical order at this point because that's how they're arranged on my screen.
Are you going to go with the surprise character, or are you going to skip her?
I'm going to skip her.
Okay.
I'm going to skip her. That's a spoiler.
That's just letting you know to keep an eye out for her.
Yep. So here we have Aston Hill, who is Apollon. And there's, you know, some back and forth between the Greek and Roman name of him and how it's just kind of been homogenized into, oh, the Greeks called him Apollo and the Romans called him Apollo, but that's not exactly accurate. In the novels, he was Apollo, but in the comics, I want to make him Apollon because it's cool. So let's talk about Aston here. Aston is not going to be in this comic script except maybe floating around in the background of scenes. But you can
reference because there's a party that
that he's playing at.
Yeah, that he's playing at. So I may find a way to sneak him into the background, depending on when I look at those pages and thumbnailing them, and who I can fit where.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I really want to do with Aston is he has a twin sister, Diana, who's Artemis, and I really want to do their book together, but have it be two stories intertwining, happening at the same time, and you flip the book over to start the other one. That's just like the crazy idea that I have. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it because we are using CreateSpace, and they kind of get touchy about things that might confuse their quality control people. They wouldn't let me, after I killed someone in a book, have the numbers count down on the pages because that would be really hard to tell if the pages were in the right order. So not sure if we'll do that, but that's kind of my dream. If we can fund this project and keep moving on through all the volumes, I want to do it.
It may also pose some problems for people who are reading an ebook version on a desktop.
Well, yeah, for the ebook version, we're just going to have to put one after the other and deal with it. But, it would be a cool thing to be like, oh, hey, I've got, the Aston story. I get to the halfway point. It tells me to flip the book upside down and start over on the other side.
Oh, I was just thinking about the ebook version. I didn't even think that if you actually read it on a tablet, it will correct itself when you tilt it. Yeah,
unless you lock the screen. So it's not going to be upside down on the tablet. That'll just be a cool print little feature. But Aston here, he is a really brilliant musician, and he is, Apollo, he is associated with the sun really throughout ancient Greek history. Apollo and Artemis weren't originally god of sun and god of moon, but it kind of evolved that way at the end of them being strongly associated. Helios is the sun, Celine is the moon, excuse me. So, but they are associated with night and day, and I really developed their characters around, Diana's a night owl, Aston is a morning person. He's got this warm, sunny blonde coloring, and she's kind of got this cool, lighter, silvery blonde coloring. So he is into a lot of like indie rock and really good stuff like White Stripes, really good quality, talented music that, kind of the geniuses of the modern musical world. And he's got a bit of an ego problem, though. Does not do well in a band. So that is Aston. Why don't you tell us about his Greek side?
Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me get back into...
So you can see it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Artemis and Apollon are both archers, so I wanted to give them unique bows. So, when we get to Artemis, we'll talk about hers. But for Apollon, what I was thinking was because he is associated with the sun, to have a bow that looks like, the corona of the sun. So it has those kind of like flame-like arcs coming off of it. I believe olive branches were one of his symbols, so I gave him
Laurel.
an olive.
It's Laurel.
Oh, Laurel. Laurel, that's right. Yeah, so that's, he has the crown of laurel and then also the trim on his cloak there. And the cloak being, the shape that it is something that Amy specifically requested.
I want it to be kind of like a bard kind of look.
He's kind of, he's armored. He's got more of like an air of nobility about him. And the turtle shell lyre is specifically... was a myth that I remember from mythology class in college about. It was like the origin story for Hermes, and one of the things that Hermes did was he crafted this tortoiseshell lyre. And
he invented the lyre and kind of invented music through it. And actually, in the hymns, it's kind of like the way that he talks to the turtle, and then he's like, "I'm gonna kill you and make something out of you, yay!" is kind of morbidly wonderful.
But yeah, it was kind of like something that he crafted and gave to Apollon as like a get out of jail free card after he did something that pissed off Zeus. So.
Well, he stole Apollo's cattle,
Apollo's
so
cattle,
that was,
that's right.
Yeah, so that was really like his, hey, but I'm gonna give you this awesome thing and make you god of music rather than just like god of, I guess, health, and he really wasn't the sun god at that point when the myth was developed.
He was a poetry god, wasn't he?
Yeah, poetry, but he didn't really have music to go with it. So kind of gave him, one of the most important domains. And then we have that motif of the little sunrise icon repeated on Aston's guitar. So I'm going to skip to Diana and then go back to Celine because, they go together like Rema-Lama-Lima-Ding-a-Ding-a-Dong. So let's see. Diana, share. Here we go. So Diana is a track star. I decided that she should have 5-finger shoes because I love them and I want somebody to have them. And
Amy has, what, 3, 4 pair of them right now?
4 pair. So
her outfit was basically something I remember from high school that, a lot of like the cross country and track kids would wear, which was the running shorts with the school logo hoodie.
Yeah. The shorts and the hoodie just so that your bottom can freeze and your top can be warm. So that's kind of her design. She's when she's in color, she's got more of a silvery blonde hair and like cooler blue eyes, whereas Aston kind of has a warmer skin tone and a more golden hair. And she is, she's the night owl. She likes to go free running in the evening. Not too much forest around where she is in downtown Miami, but she finds the trees around the golf course and stuff to run through to be with nature. And so we have our Artemis design here, and you can explain the bow now.
Okay, well, most of the Artemis design for this one I lifted straight from ancient statues for her toga and her crown. The unique touches that I added was I put the moon motif on her quiver and on her crown, and also her bow, which one of the animals that she's associated with is the stag. So I thought it would be neat to have a bow that was made out of antlers. Yes.
So that is her design there. We have also, she's got the moon crest on her head. And kind of that repeated moon motif on her sash here. Something I just noticed, I've had this design sitting around for months, is that it actually moves through the phases here. Gets a little more full as it goes down.
Oh, it does? Wow, that's a complete accident.
Oh, so that's an accident. Okay. Yeah, we might want to change that so it actually goes all the way between new and full. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that may be something to keep.
All right. I just thought that you had done that on purpose. All right.
No, but thanks for pointing it out, so I will from now on.
You should have just pretended you did it on purpose. All right. So here we have Celine Davis, who is Demeter. And she is one of the adults. It was really one of those things when I was developing the novel that to have the relationship between Demeter and Persephone not be mother-daughter would have been, blasphemous. So I basically decided that she needed to be an adult, and she's just, she was, one of the first of the gods to be reincarnated, and still, manifesting powers and waking memories at the same time as the kids. So she's a biologist who is, really into plants, gardening, botany, but she was doing pharmaceutical research, and then her husband died, and she ended up getting a job teaching at a high school, and so she is the biology teacher at Olympia Heights Senior High, and she's got, compared to Penny, she's got more of like a cat eye thing going on, dark coloring, sharp cheekbones, rather than, the blonde moon face that you'll see with Penny. So a couple elements here for Demeter. We have the sheaves of grain because she was the goddess of the harvest. We have the snake wrist wrap because she also was associated with the serpent along with a bunch of other awesome animals. We got the little bits of daisies in her hair, which is kind of a motif carrying through with Persephone.
And then Celine also has a daisy necklace in her mortal form.
In her mortal form, yes, to carry over little icons, little symbols that carry over between them all.
And the staff was something that was in a lot of her statues. So a lot of them have, not all of them, but a lot of them have like signature staffs that I tried to carry over as much as I could.
Yes, and then we have a potted plant in her human form because there's like a moment in the book with a potted plant.
And also her powers to make plants grow.
All right, here's our slightly PG-13 character design.
Yeah. So Aphrodite she's popularly known as the goddess of love, but you know, the domain of love kind of gets split between a bunch of other gods, and she's mostly on like the physical, sexual side of things.
Yeah, she's a goddess of passion, beauty, desire, also domain prostitution. So you know, we give familial, taking care of your family love to Hestia. We give marriage to Hera. We give, you know, the mother-daughter thing is kind of really represented by Demeter and Persephone. But Aphrodite gets the, like, raw lust part of it, and in pretty much every depiction, she's naked, but this comic needed to be appropriate for 13-year-olds.
Yeah, so she's wearing a sheer toga, so that, like, if this was, like, real life seeing it, you would probably see stuff through it, but it's, you know, just enough fabric to mask, the idea would be, like, light shining through the silhouette of her body.
Yeah, yeah, and then we have, the apple?
Yep, that she won, thus setting off the Trojan War for being the most beautiful of the goddesses.
It also could stand in for the apples from Hippomenes and Atalanta, where she gave him the 3 golden apples to throw so that he could win his bride, and then after they forgot to thank her, she completely, horribly had them murdered by making them to devour each other with passion at Athena's temple, and then Athena was like, what?
And then...
So there's another connection.
There are a few different myths about the origin of Aphrodite, but the most common one, the Venus rising from the foam, is that, the image of her being born, fully formed out of an oyster shell coming out of the foam in the water. So we have that shell necklace going across between both Aphrodite and Devon.
And let's not shy away from the grosser details of it. She came from the sea foam that was the remains of Uranus's junk being thrown into the ocean after he was snipped by his son Kronos.
So as the daughter of a primordial, wouldn't she technically be a Titan?
Yeah, technically she's family tree level with the Titans, but she ends up siding with the Olympians and gets to be an Olympian, technically an Olympian. But and in some versions they make her they give her other origins, but the most common and I think the best one is that she comes from the sea foam. She actually comes from the reproductive parts of one of the primordials. So, to make the goddess of, she's a passion and fertility, coming from that, I think is more appropriate than just having her be somebody's kid. So there's Aphrodite. We get to skip Diana because we already covered her. And once again, at the screen right now, you're seeing www.olympiaheights.com/comic. We have all these character designs up there, also a little bit about the black figure style, and links to the backer awards so you can go back the Kickstarter.
And speaking of Greek gods, Apollo just walked by in the background.
Yeah, my doggy Apollo. He's right next to me. He's probably about to fart because that's the only reason he would stand next to me right now. To be horrible. So this is a new character for the comic. I didn't bring in Heracles before because I don't know, because I guess I just had enough characters already. But
yeah, with the originals, I was you're one of your sounding boards when you were brainstorming, and the original idea was that there were 14 gods who kind of passed around the 12 seats as the Olympians. I mean,
there's Persephone and Hades, who never really were Olympians, but they're important.
Yeah, okay, and then there were, 13 other gods who passed around
those 12 seats in the dodecathon, yeah.
So they were the ones that kind of wanted to stick with.
Yeah, but we decided we need to bring Heracles because we have a really good story idea for him now. And I saw this picture on Tumblr about a year ago of a couple little boys from the Solomon Islands who they were native to the Solomon Islands, but they had naturally blonde hair. And it was this big post about how this is naturally occurring. This is like just through a mutation, just like with Caucasian people. Blonde hair occurred, and then it, spread through the population. And it's not dyed. It's a natural hair color for these kids. And so I was like, their hair is amazing. He looks like it looks like a lion's mane. Like it's.
We were also looking to add a little more diversity to the comic. With the originals, you got 16 main characters, and you've got,
Valerie's Chinese, Teddy's half white, half Hispanic, and Frank is Hispanic. And then you have, some minor characters, like Diana's boyfriend was black, but we really wanted to add more diversity.
So I did some research as well, after you said, you want them from the Solomon Islands, so I was looking up, and, it's, there's an ethnic group, they're called Melanesian, and basically, they look like, African Americans or people of African descent, except they also have, blonde hair and blue eyes in about a quarter of the population.
So it's pretty common for his ethnicity to have this coloration. And we just thought it was so cool for the Heracles character because he wears this lion on him in the myth. And to give him this kind of lion's mane, longish hair, that's golden, we thought that was going to be really cool. And so we went back and forth. Oh, I need to open that up again. Why did I close that? I don't know what I was doing. So we went back and forth for a while on what sport he should play. And because Heracles was, a champion wrestler at first, we were going, oh, we'll be a wrestling, and I really started planning for him to be a wrestler. But then I found out that you can't have long hair if you're a wrestler. And I was like, I have this image in my mind now, and I want this boy to have this gorgeous mane of golden hair. And
so we were bouncing it back, and, the two big, symbols that constantly come up for Heracles are the pelt of the Nemean lion that he wears as armor, and he uses different weapons, but his main one is a club. So that kind of, led into baseball.
So he is now a baseball player, and he's going to have this really epic, awesome, kind of tragic story that we'll be introducing later on. He's just going to be floating around in the background. He's an athlete. He's not really on any teams with any of the other male characters yet, but he is, in the athletics department at Olympia Heights, and we're definitely going to work him into the comics before we finally get to his story, which is going to be awesome. And
the other thing I wanted to point out, just as we get closer to him, he wears a friendship bracelet, and I've kind of, perceived that as being, a memento of somebody who comes up in his backstory.
Yes, yeah. So he has this bracelet that he wears. So let's go to Hephaestus, because Hephaestus here is Hephaestus. There we go. Screen share was being a jerk. Hephaestus here is, his name is Evan Fuller, and he is kind of the grease monkey of the group. He's, you got these marks on his face because his face is, kind of tan from welding and wearing those goggles, or dirty, depending on what he's been up to. Carrying around a wrench. He likes to listen to, some 80s rock there. But, the AC/DC Iron Man type soundtrack stuff. But
Hephaestus was the disfigured god. So there's some disfigurement that comes through in Evan, and you mostly don't see it because he always wears, long sleeves and long pants to mask, burns and cuts, and he has a limp from... On the book, it's a limp from a broken leg. Were we going with something different for the comic, or...?
Yeah, I haven't exactly figured out. I've written something down, but it's been months since I decided, so I want to double check that. I don't want to say anything and then be wrong about my notes. Yeah. He's also going to be, background. He's not a huge feature player in this comic, but he will come in later. And so he's kind of got we kind of play with what would be steampunk ancient Greece instead of Victorian. What's our Hephaestus made all these ridiculously awesome magical contraptions and complex things. So what is this prosthetic that he creates?
Yeah, and a lot of the the machines from ancient Greece were wood and pulleys and ropes and stuff. So that kind of we have a splint for his bad leg that works with pulleys to strengthen it. And
Yes, and he has, the big apron, which and the hat, which really come from. Well, I live in near Birmingham, where if you go to the right place, you can just stare up at Vulcan's backside. So that forge apron and the welding gloves, and he's got the big smithing hammer, which is really that key symbol. And we wanted him to be like, his arms are so much more massive than his whole frame is bigger on the top than the other male gods, but he's got little underdeveloped legs because he is crippled.
A couple of notes. We've got hammers on his sandals. You can't see behind his actual hammer, but there's a flame motif on the trim of his
apron.
His skirt.
Oh, a skirt. Yes, his tunic.
And a little flame logo on the apron. That is an apron strap above his belt. He is not wearing a thong.
All right. So there is Hephaestus. Okay, so now we're moving into Ares because he's like a boss. It's hard to tell when he's not next to any of the other characters in this design, but he is taller than all of the other gods, and when I put them in frames, I try to make sure I keep that, because his modern character, Frank Guerrero, as the books go on, he approaches 7 feet tall. He's a very large guy. He's the center on the football team, and he can bench press a car, but has to kind of rein it in. So Ares here is a really traditional design. There's not a lot of hidden motifs because Ares' things were civil order, war, the courage side of it, not the strategy side. Also rage, that kind of thing.
The big thing with the war gods that I did was I tried to just keep them to patron cities. So Ares' armor is more typical of what a Spartan hoplite would wear into battle.
Yeah, and you'll see with Athena that we actually have Athenian armor on her. So we actually, did research on historical armor styles. So he's got his sword and his spear and his Spartan helmet, and still has the little goatee that Frank has, so that you can see that. And he's very large. And that's really, there's not much else to it. He's pretty simple. Okay, we're going to show you now quickly, just very quickly, because this will be boring to anybody who hasn't read the comics yet. Jason. So Jason is a mortal, and he does not have a god version. And poor Jason, he gets sucked into everything.
Jason was pretty much just translating the cover model as well as one of Amy's celebrity bases.
Eric Dane.
Yeah.
Dr. McSteamy. I don't even watch Grey's Anatomy, but I saw him on Oprah once, and I was like, I need to write a character that looks like him.
So it was just kind of mixing him and the cover model from the final novel, and yeah.
Jason, everybody, yay! Okay. Oh, don't open that one, Amy.
Oh.
Don't open the surprise. All right. This is a character who will be strongly featured in the comic, although mostly towards the end. So here is Hera, and June Harold here she is the girlfriend of Zach Jacobs Zeus, and she is very well put together. She's got that 5-step plan for her life, where step 5 includes her becoming the First Lady of the United States, FLOTUS. And so let's go into the Greek mythology design here. We'll start off with this pomegranate, which is kind of a recurring motif. It's really big for Persephone, and you'll see it again, but it's also in there with Hera. Basically, it's like a female fertility symbol because it's, it's a pod with a bunch of seeds in it, and it's all red and gooey. So
it's
there
also,
you go.
I believe, associated with marriage, and she's the goddess of marriage.
Yeah. It would be a marriage feast item because it's associated with the fertility, and you got married to have all the kids, and so it's kind of like the ovary symbol. Before they had a complex idea of how the digestive, dear Lord, reproductive system works. So talk about other things.
Okay, the lotus staff is one of her symbols, and also comes up a lot in statues of Hera.
What's that?
That is a symbol of Hera. The gods all have symbols. We traditionally know the male and female symbols, which are actually the Ares and or the Mars and Venus, because they're typically Roman, but
men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Also the Mercury symbol I know because of Sailor Moon. I've had that on my forehead a couple times.
She has peacock feathers in her hair, and as well as her necklace. The peacock is her like totem animal.
So, give somebody a peacock decoration for a wedding present.
And I found some versions of the mythologies had her associated with typhoons and wind, so there's kind of these like wind swirls as the trim on her toga.
Yeah, she's kind of like, if you had to split all the gods into the four elements, she'd be air themed. She's a sky goddess with Zeus, because Zeus is like the ultimate sky god. All right, Minnie, Athena, is also strongly featured in the comic. She comes in, she keeps popping in, and then finally she's like, I am not going to leave until you let me help you. So she kind of forces her way into the plot, as she should. So here is Minnie. In the books, she originally started off with chin-length brown hair, and then I cut my hair, and I was like, hey, this is way more practical. Minnie should have this haircut because it's just logical. Minnie is she's asexual. She really has no interest in being romantically involved in anybody, and she really has no interest in getting dolled up to impress anybody. And so having the short, not really styled, it's just like, make sure it doesn't look terrible, gotta look professional haircut, was kind of a practical, this just makes sense for her as a character. She's also a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah, so the shirt is not a Hogwarts shield.
Yes.
So yeah, she was, very much based on Amy. She's kind of, other than the asexual thing, she's Amy's self-insert.
Yeah,
character.
she was me if I could be as driven and focused as she is, which, she sometimes then goes to the extreme of.
She gets a little extra help from her powers, but
yeah, but she's like me, hyped up on superpowers, but then sometimes also forgets to be emotional, and that's okay. But she's very logically driven, and also she plays roller derby, which I used to play, but she's braver than I am.
Well, since she's a war goddess, you needed to have some kind of a combat element.
So her contact sport is going and kicking everyone's butt. And she actually, at one point, is going to actually get into a fight scene in this comic in roller derby gear. Not the skates, but, like mouth guard and stuff. Because basically she has armor in her car. So that's Minnie. Let's talk about Athena.
Okay, so Athena is mostly dressed as an Athenian hoplite soldier. The two little touches that I added is she has her Aegis, which is sometimes a shield, sometimes a breastplate that the head of Medusa is attached to. Visually, it worked better putting it on her shield, so that's what we went with here. So you've got that, and then the other thing is that one of her symbols is the owl. So I kind of put some carvings on the brow of her helmet to suggest an owl face.
Yes, so that's Athena. She's pretty awesome, and the Medusa head thing comes from the Perseus myth. For anybody who's like, I don't remember that story. It's a pretty.
She can freeze people in the stone with her shield. Maybe that's going to be one of her extra comic powers.
Yeah, man, maybe that will be later on. Right now, she doesn't have any powers because only Zach. Well, no, that's a lie. Other people get powers in this book too, but we're focusing on Zach's.
And her power is not very noticeable. It's something that kind of she knows. Everyone else is just like, you're really smart.
Yeah. So, Poseidon. Poseidon.
Okay. Nick seemed like a Crocs guy.
Yeah, Nick is kind of, and I have to say that Nick is a little more sympathetic in the comic than in the novels. I kind of was hating on him until the end. I kind of was just making him be kind of a tool, which is why he's wearing a popped collar polo with plaid shorts and Crocs, because I'm not a fan of Crocs. I don't begrudge anybody's right to wear them, and they do make sense for him being a swimmer to have this shoe that is, a good beach shoe.
Drains well.
It drains well, but there's a lot of negative opinion about Crocs, and I kind of wanted to play off that because it's a very practical decision for him. But there are still people who are going to judge him, and so Nick is kind of constantly fighting the image that he's kind of a tool, and he kind of is. because he is, he's been hurt and he's been bullied, and he decided that he was just going to be the bully instead. He doesn't, he's kind of an overbearing personality, and he has a hard time convincing people that he's sincere about things. He's also a bit of a ladies' man because, Poseidon did a lot of seducing. We all talk about Zeus cheating on his wife, but Poseidon cheated on his wife all the time too. So, Poseidon, Nick is Poseidon, and he's a swimmer. Those are like those shorts I intend to be like, they could actually be swim trunks, or they could just be, some nice cotton shorts, but they're beachwear. So tell them about Poseidon.
Okay, so Poseidon was one that, there's a lot of stuff going on with him. He lives mostly underwater, so that's why he's got seaweed draped over his shoulders and why he's got barnacles growing on him. The shoulder strap is a fishing net. He's got kind of a wave pattern on his wrap, which I had that kind of loose, like if he shifts the wrong way, you could almost see something just playing up, the fact that he's, oh, you lost the picture.
Oh, I did that again. I just I wanted to see the screen, and I closed it, because I don't know. I was
playing up that he's, the horn dog god. I mean, so is Zeus, but Zeus has to be a little more respectable because he's the king of the gods.
Yeah, he's almost naked, but that's also because he lives in a pineapple under the sea.
And then he's also the god of horses, so he has the horseshoe necklace.
Yeah, the god of horses thing. They killed a lot of horses in ancient Greece, driving beautiful, top-notch horses, because you didn't sacrifice the terrible horse to the god. That would be an insult. I mean, sacrificing the terrible bull to Poseidon was what caused the Minotaur. So, yeah.
Well, he's got the trident because, yeah.
That's his thing. That's his thing, the trident. Funny thing is that, I don't know if you've ever seen the thing that's like, Triton is a son of Poseidon, and Poseidon is Heracles' uncle. So, like, Ariel and Heracles are, like, cousins.
I've kind of also got this, like,
From
image
Disney.
in my mind of, like, how Poseidon, at the height of his power, fought. And I picture him using his earthquake and ocean powers to just constantly knock people off their footing and just knock them up onto his trident.
You're going to be seeing a lot of that kind of stuff in flashbacks, because Sam's going to have fun with it. So here we have Persephone. Persephone is, her name is Penny Davis. She is the youngest of the reincarnated Olympians. And she's kind of got this, like, it's like goth with pink. Like, think about that Darth Vader Hello Kitty going around the internet. And that is what Penny's style is. It's like dark and edgy.
Really, really girly and really, really gothy, and just mix it into one style.
Yeah, so she's got like floral leggings and a little like skull barrette with a bow, and like the hoodie and the skirt,
lace tank top,
boots, and yeah. So it's like girly and goth all in one, without going lowly, because that I didn't really. There's enough of that creepiness going on with her that we don't need to get into like playing child.
Yeah, it's kind of going for like a style that you probably
would actually see in high school.
And for her goddess design, I drew a lot. Like, she wears the same toga, she has the same snake bracelet as Demeter. Just drawing the relation there. She doesn't just have one leg; they're just kind of one behind the other as she's stepping forward.
Yeah.
The pomegranate, with, if you look really closely at it, there are 3 seeds missing. The black ones compared to the reddish brown ones. She wears a crown because she's the queen of the underworld, and she has the little flower on I forget which flower that was. The lily, yes, which was one of her symbols.
Yes, so we got that underworld crown. Now, one of the big changes here with Persephone is that in a lot of the like more the Rape of Persephone is kind of a bad Latin translation. Really, it was from a word that means the rapture of Persephone, the sweeping away. And so throughout, especially with the neoclassical era, Victorian era, we really got into this idea that Poseidon raped Poseidon, dear Lord, Hades raped Persephone. And it's definitely an interesting narrative, and I've seen it in a lot of places. But I've also read some really interesting articles and gone back and read the Homeric hymn to see what people are talking about. And there is this very strong theory, I would say it's probably more than a theory, that the rape of Persephone is really, she was kidnapped. That's what the rapture is, the sweeping away. She was kidnapped, which is kind of really, if you look at the ancient Greek marriage tradition, it's about the father makes the deal with the groom. The groom comes and they have a feast with the family. Then the women are allowed to eat after the men have started eating, and then he takes her away home. So Hades comes to Zeus and says, "Hey, I'm going to marry your daughter. I want to marry your daughter. You promised." And Zeus says, "Okay." And then he takes Persephone home. But there's this period of time where she bargains with him in the underworld, and she knows about the fruit, and she lies to her mother and says she was tricked, but in the hymn you actually see her willingly eat the seeds. So and she bargains to get on equal footing with him, which actually makes her pretty empowered for a goddess in ancient Greek times. And so really, instead of it becoming a story about a rape, it ends up becoming a story warning men, hey, maybe you shouldn't make deals about your children's future without consulting their mother. Zeus didn't consult Demeter because that won't end well. But in the Homeric hymns, she actually lies to her mother and says she was tricked. But it's clear that it's a lie and that she actually willingly ate the seed.
And it fits more. That version of it fits more with other stories like. If she was a prisoner, Hades wouldn't go off and do stuff and say, "Hey, you run this while I'm taking care of some business." And you have a lot of the stories where the heroes go down to the underworld. Sometimes they'll deal with just Hades. Sometimes they'll deal with Hades and Persephone, and sometimes Hades working on something and Persephone's making the decisions. So
yeah, and I really. She had a lot of sway over him, and a lot of the myths, like Orpheus comes and plays for her, and she convinces her husband to let Orpheus and Eurydice go. So I did 4 books of Peter angsting because Penny didn't want to be with him because he raped her in a past life, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. It's really heavy, it's really difficult to deal with and to do tactfully, and I figured that it was time to explore the other avenue, and so people who are Hades and Persephone fans are probably going to like the comic adaptation a little bit better than the novel. So let's move on to our next character design, which is going to be Peter, because alphabetically he's there. And we have screen share. These little buttons slide away, and sometimes they're hard to make come back. There we go.
So Peter is one of the ones who I tried to keep.
It's going to have a huge change. I can't tell you what's going to happen to it.
Well, I was going to say, I was trying to keep some continuity between his mortal and god form, but he was one of the ones who was really, huge difference. Like, he's normally this scrawny, small, weak kid, and then he's, this hulking, giant as a god.
Yeah, I didn't want him to be, a shriveled, crone old guy, because I just didn't feel like that was appropriate. Hades is, Lord of the Underworld. He's brother of Zeus and Poseidon. I didn't want him to be the shriveled old man. If you watch the History Channel, when they did their mythology series, they cast a bald old guy with creepy silver eyes. I mean, they put contacts in everybody. But I didn't want him to be a shriveled old man. I wanted him to be powerful. He's a coward. Hades is a coward compared to the other gods. But I don't think that he needed to be shriveled and weak. So it was difficult to get that continuity. But I think what we achieved is very, very good. Basically, Peter, a lot of Peter was modeled. I had this image in my head, and then I found a boy who was perfect for Peter except for eye color, and his name was Thad. And I met him on a movie shoot, and he was 16 at the time, and I was like, "You need to come to our company headquarters, to the photo shoot, to my mother-in-law's studio, and we need to do these pictures for the book cover before you are not 16 anymore because you are perfect. And so he is on the cover of Olympia Heights, The Blood of Athens, and he is all grown up now. And we really wanted to keep that look with the modern contemporary design for the comic. He really, I can definitely see Thad there, although Thad is a lot more stylish than Peter. Peter is a thrift store kid. He's very poor. He lives in a trailer with his father. His father is an alcoholic, doesn't really take much care of him, so what he wears is usually oversized stuff that he could find. Kind of a little bit of goth and metal in the same thing. I didn't want him just to be like a goth kid because you have to have a lot of money to do goth really well because it's kind of a stylish thing. He's wearing oversized shirts, baggy jeans with holes in them. He's got that Harry Potter thing going on where he looks more frail than he is because his clothes don't fit.
So we brought in for this god design. This is one of the actual Roman influences we're bringing in, whereas most of the other stuff is stripping out the Roman influence. But the Romans, to make Ares and Hades, weren't all that well liked. So Mars became a protector figure, and Hades became, or Pluto, the Roman equivalent to Hades, became the god of precious metals and gemstones and the wealth
they kind of combined him with the Greek Plautus, but it was kind of that idea that he is. They literally believed that Hades was under the ground, like under their feet. So when you would pray to Hades, you would make your sacrifices on an altar low to the ground. You could actually thump on the ground to get his attention when making a prayer to Hades. Not that people prayed directly to him very much because he was very taboo. But, if you were making an offering to Hades, it would be at night. It would be on a low altar on the ground because they believed he was right down there. So naturally, that's his domain. I'm stomping on the ground, but you can't see it. I don't know why. So that's his domain, and that's where all the minerals come from, these mines. When they literally believed that there were openings to the underworld throughout Greece, and we have those in the Olympia Heights series, but they're kind of these portals that the gods can pass through, but humans can't. And so they literally believed that you could just go into this tunnel and walk into the underworld if you knew where it was. So,
most of them are volcanic caves that produce a lot of gas that can induce hallucinations.
Yes. So it really makes sense for him to have wealth as that domain. Not just because, everybody who dies is buried with some valuable to pay the ferrymen, so there's a lot of stuff building up down there, but because that's where the minerals literally was in the physical realm of Hades.
His beard is also, it's cut to look like the jawbone of a skull. I have, he's got, as we were talking about with the wealth, he's got the jeweled cape clasp and the rings. He has the chains of the underworld's chains are, commonly associated with death. And the ram is one of his symbols, so he has a ram crown, and he has his bident, which is his...
Yes, Trident 3, Bident 2, so he has a bident. All right, we are going to show this one. It is a new character. It's a new Titan. In the books, we dealt with Prometheus, Epimetheus, Atlas, Monoicius, and Kronos, but we're going to bring in a lot more bad guys, all sorts of things. Titans, little nymphs and stuff. We got Minth as a bad guy in one of them. So there's going to be Gale, for anybody who knows, who is like a polecat. We got her coming in. She's a witch. She's not really a polecat. We're going to bring in a whole bunch of different characters, antagonists. But this is Iapetus, who is... He's the details on him in the actual primary sources of the mythology are very vague. And I am aware, because a student told me, that he is in Percy Jackson, but I have not read Percy Jackson. But I think our version is a lot more metal, because apparently his has no memory or something. I don't know. I think his name is Bob or something. So,
yeah, and we have, secret characters who kind of change the dynamic on it, who you'll see in the final story. But
yeah, he's not the mastermind behind this, let's just say that. But he is, we kind of played with, he's the father of 4 of the most important Titans. Well, Monoicius is kind of but he's the father of Atlas, Prometheus, and Epimetheus.
say 4 out of the 5 Titans that were in the novel series.
Yeah, so he's the father of a bunch of the important Titans. In some sources, he's the grantor of mortal lifespan. He's called the Piercer, but he doesn't really have. The Titans don't really have domains like the Pantheon. They don't really have those kinds of like areas. We can't say he's the god of something. So
some of the ones who sided with the Olympians and got to carry on, they got domains. But yeah, the ones who were banished, yeah.
There's just like a list of names in Theogony, and he's kind of vaguely, mentioned. So we wanted to go with this Piercer idea. He has a spear, and then we actually went with like Piercer in a modern context with like tattoo and piercing, which is why he has the earring and the eyebrow ring and the tattoos and the barbed wire, and he does have some Greek keys on there. But he's kind of like the Pierce tattooed biker dude style. And then carrying that over, the key that's on
I actually based his face off of the wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's great. And he just gets like a mangier beard and an extra earring when he is the Titan. He's got a cool scar, from the Titanomachy. He's got this this Greek key pattern tattoo that becomes the armband here. And very much just like brute force Titan, violent dude.
Yeah, the original design, he had the exact same tattoos across, and Amy suggested giving him some more. So he has on one arm, he has the same Greek armband tattoo that he had, and the Greek key armband tattoo that he had in his ancient form, and now he's got on his other arm this full sleeve that does have a little Greek key around his skull, but then also has the barbed wire skull.
The barbed wire is kind of a stereotypical meathead tattoo that doesn't need much thought to go into it, so it doesn't have much meaning for most people unless, you were in World War I, I guess. I don't know. But it doesn't really have much meaning for most people, and so it kind of made sense he's kind of the mindless thug to have that design. All right, let's talk about Valerie. Valerie Hestia, Valerie Hess, is she's kind of an interesting character because there's not many myths about her. She actually gets replaced by Dionysus in the Dodecathon pretty early on in the history, I guess. But
yeah, she's another one of the ones who I just mostly just lifted from ancient art for her goddess design because there's really not that much else to go on.
Yeah, she's a member of she has taken the chastity pledge, the purity pledge, and she's a very conservative, quiet, compassionate character. And Hestia really in the myth is mostly just concerned with tending her fire, taking care of the home, and staying out of all the gods' drama, which makes her kind of boring for a dramatic action story, but we found ways to make her interesting. Part of it, the joke in the books, is that everybody always forgets about Valerie. Yeah, she's got the bowl of fire, and she has this very interesting place in ancient Greek ritual where fire sacrifices of food and herbs and incense and stuff that were burned were actually the first offering and the last offering of the ritual went to Hestia because she was the goddess of the fire and the hearth. So she has this very minor place in the mythology, despite being one of the original Olympians. She's one of the sisters of Zeus, but she has this incredibly important place in ancient Greek ritual.
Oh, there was actually one other influence besides the other thing is that I kind of wanted to give her, since she's very religious in the modern context, was to give her kind of a Virgin Mary look as well in her ancient form.
Yeah, and veiling was actually something that was done in some ancient Greek religious practices too, so that veil kind of gives her that. All right, let's talk about Zach, because, I don't know, Lewis and Teddy for some reason are sorted wrong in the alphabet in my folder, but let's skip ahead to Zach. So here we go. We have Zach, Zeus. You probably have seen lots of this art if you've been looking at the Kickstarter. I made a giant cardboard cutout of him to bring to cons.
Yeah, Zach is very much a bro.
He's the captain of the football team, and I really wanted him to have a chin that just looked like it belonged with a beard, like a wonderful, long, prominent chin. And he has always got a 5 o'clock shadow. He has magic beard powers. He can grow a beard in like a day and a half, so he has to shave all the time. He's pretty much got a 5 o'clock shadow from 15 minutes after he shaves. you can tell what time of day that it's going to be in the comic by how dark his beard is.
Yeah, so he's got, you know, the leather jacket, the t-shirt, cargo shorts, yeah, that basic kind of mixing, you know, jock and frat guy looks. And then for his god form, you know, the one shoulder cape was something that I'd seen in the statue of Zeus that I brought in. Just carrying out the lightning bolt theme a lot. The eagle is one of his symbols, so he has a brooch of that. And the beards in his beard were actually a suggestion from our art director, Carly Strickland.
Yeah, I think it really added something to the design, something kind of unique about it. So that is Zeus. Yeah, Carly Strickland, who is a fantastic illustrator and book designer, she did all my covers for the Olympia Heights series. She is going to be doing the art direction, so she's going to be giving Sam notes and making him change things throughout the entire process. So just so you know, we're going to have two artists technically working on this book, one giving her expert eye editing. There's my dog Apollo back there licking his foot repeatedly. So let's look at Lewis. Hermes, I know, is a crowd favorite. People tend to love Hermes. He's kind of awesome, wicked relevant in the internet age. Hermes.
He's one that was a dream to design just because he comes already with so many just iconic elements that you don't really have to do much to make him stand out on his own.
Yeah, and you know, the wings on the feet and the hat are kind of this this symbolic thing that started happening in classical art, because how do you make a giant, you know, ton piece of marble look like it's flying? Put some wings on it, but he doesn't really need those wings to fly. And you'll see Lewis later in the comics flying without having to sprout wings out of his shoes. But we do have, he has a pair of Chuck Taylors that he has whited out the All-Star logo and drawn on little wings. He wears lime green shoes because that's the color.
I've considered, you know, in drawing him in motion, maybe having like untied laces that kind of arc up to form wing shapes.
Yeah, some cool stuff there. And he's got, we decided we wanted to give him a funny shirt, but we didn't want it to be text reliant, because he's like Lewis listens to Jonathan Colton and Weird Al and like is always cracking jokes, and so we decided that we were gonna give him. Sam came up with a little chick magnet thing, which is, you know, silly, really cheesy, but I think he appreciates cheesy. And his hair, we actually. I searched. I gave Sam a giant folder of all of clothing items and haircuts for all of the kids and backpacks. Like he knows now how to draw everyone's backpack.
And then I also went through and pulled like fan art that had been done, and you know, looked at some of that, and
yeah. So Lewis actually has a lady's haircut because I could not find a like feathered, swooshy, choppy haircut that was quite active and lively enough for Lewis, except on a female model. So Lewis has got an awesome lady's haircut. But Hermes design, you got that hat, you got, you know, we got the wing motif on the cape,
the traveler's cape.
Yeah, the catechus, which, you know, we associate with medicine, but that's not quite. It's kind of gotten distorted in its meaning over time, and there's a whole. I just Googled.
Hermes is a workaholic. He's got like as many domains as like 5 other gods put together.
Yeah. So that's not really like the medicine symbol at this point. You know, the wing sandals. He's busy. He's even in his static pose, he's running, because he's not someone who sits still. So I think we're on the last one. I'm pretty sure I've shown you a zillion other characters by now. We're probably ready to wrap this thing up in a little bit. We can look at your art in a bit too. I don't think you've made any progress. You stopped.
No, I haven't. I've been kind of watching and commentating.
Okay. Well, we can see if we have any questions and look into that. So we have Dionysus. Now, Dionysus, the goal was to be androgynous, and I ended up having to send Sam all sorts of pictures of androgynous people because he just kept being too masculine. Dionysus Teddy's backstory is that he's like the product of an affair with the housekeeper, and his family pretended to adopt him from their housekeeper, but everybody kind of knows that he's Senator Wexler's biological son. His adoptive mother hates him, but he's the very pretty, very flashy, fashionable life of the party. He always shows up with the alcohol, and he kind of dresses like Kurt Hummel, I guess would be the best way to, he's very high fashion, lots of purples. He pulls off those bold pieces that most high schoolers wouldn't dare do when they're wearing their cargo shorts and Alabama football t-shirt.
I think one of the other fashion examples you're giving me was, I forget what his name was, but he was P. Diddy's butler, who was, had the show for a while, and
yes,
the guy with the fashionable umbrellas, and
yeah, he's awesome too. So I really wanted him to be like high fashion, really brave with his choices, and so the folder Sam has a lot of fashionable items that most American teenagers would not be caught dead in, but he's gonna look amazing no matter what he's wearing, and saddle shoes, because saddle shoes are awesome. And I've been watching Singing in the Rain, and everybody should wear saddle shoes and tap dance forever. So let's talk about Dionysus.
Okay, he's one who is loaded with iconic elements. The pine cone staff is one of his symbols that comes up in a lot of his ancient portrayals. He is actually, those horns.
That's not a hat.
Yeah. The wreath is a hat, but the horns are actually coming out of his head. He's got
coming out of his head. I wish I could cosplay that. I should cosplay that, except I'm not Hispanic and my skin is alabaster, so that would not work.
He's got the
my eyes are too brown too. All right, here you go.
He's got his chalice for his wine, and he's also wearing a wineskin because he's the god of wine. He's got to be prepared to party at any moment.
Yep.
And then also one of his symbols is a leopard pelt. So I kind of gave him that as kind of like a cape.
Yep. So there's Teddy, Dionysus, and so the major ones that you're going to be seeing in the Olympia Heights comic, there'll be cameos from people, and there's totally an event that happens that I'm not sure if I want to go back in time and explain what happens, but something goes missing from Zach's locker and somebody else stole it, but I didn't actually put them in. I don't know. So anyways, without getting into that, let's just go to say there's going to be cameos in the background from a bunch of the characters, but the characters who are actually going to be, big scripted characters are going to be Athena, Hermes, Poseidon, Zeus, and Hera. Those are going to be our big scripted Olympians for this one. And all of the books, I have this master plan that's going to be like 16 books or whatever, but all of the books are going to have a central character. The second book is going to be Hades, if we can get this book done. They're going to be a central character and then a kind of a supporting cast of a few. I think in this format, having like all 16 of them would be insane. So, towards the end, there's going to start to be a bunch of people, but that will be toward, while you've read a whole bunch of volumes and you're very familiar with them.
And that was like the one criticism of the original series was, there is kind of that effort to get in with the 16 characters introduced in the first book. So this
and people who liked Lost or watch soap operas seem to think it was not a problem, but there were a lot of people who tend to like shows with smaller casts that were like, what? And if you know your mythology, it gets easier to follow, but if you're not familiar with the mythology, having 16 of those gods introduced at once is a little bit much for people.
So this kind of makes it a little bit more new user friendly, especially for people who aren't used to following massive cast shows.
Yeah, and there's going to be some changes. If you've read the novels, some things are going to change. Like, we are going to be a little more forthcoming with Dionysus and Hermes being bisexual, because when I first started writing the series, it was 2011, and a lot has changed. When I first published the series, it was 2011. When I first started writing it, it was 2008. And a lot has changed in that time that I don't have to be as coy and cautious about it.
When you did the first...
Yeah, we did the first concept.
Yeah.
So, we kind of revealed in the comics that Teddy was bisexual, but we didn't really
Or in the
talk
book?
about it with Lewis in the book. Yeah, in the book. And so I'm going to be more forthright with that now that we're in a time where that's a little more accepted. So that's good. And you know, we're bringing in Eric Louis Hercules for another character, but we are also making some slight changes. I can't tell you what I'm going to do with Hades because it's going to be awesome. But Poseidon is actually, like, Nick Morrissey is actually Zach Jacobs' half-brother in this version. And so a lot of the tension that we saw in the novels is going to end up having this very interesting, complex relationship. It's really one of the central focuses of this first volume is this relationship between, you know, Zach sees Nick as the response of what broke up his parents' marriage and kind of resents him, and Nick really just wants his brother to like him, but they're also bad at communicating and bad at emotions and good at lashing out at each other. So
Because they're teenage boys.
Because they're teenage boys. So they're teenage boys who have a horrible father figure. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on with slight tweaks to character backstories of things. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we should cover before we say goodbye. Really just, you know, asking everybody to please share on social media because we need this $16,000 goal to happen. Otherwise, we can't pay for art. And, you know, Sam is an artist. That's what he's working on doing freelance to make his full-time job, and I cannot ask him on speculation to draw me 170 pages. So please share it with your friends. Even if you don't have the money right now, basically, if you don't know about Kickstarter, it comes out at the end of the project. So if you're like, well, I haven't gotten paid yet, well, it comes out November 4th, no matter when you pledge. So share it with your friends, even if you can't afford to back it. You know, even $1 helps, but share it with anybody because you never know who's secretly a Greek mythology buff or who is kind of curious and into it and likes comics, you know. So share it, tweet it. If you've already backed it, make sure that you go back and hit that tweet button. And throughout the month, I will be coming and revealing T-shirt designs, tote bag designs, pillow designs, that kind of stuff. Of all of the characters so that you can kind of see what some of your options for backer rewards are going to be.
Yeah, we got 10 of them drawn. There's going to be 16 characters total by the time those are done. They're going to be a mixture of with like over 30 designs because it'll be the god form as well alongside either the mortal form or the a symbolic animal.
Yeah, because I know that some of you, you know, you want to wear a T-shirt that people are going to know what's on it, and you know, you can have the T-shirt with Zack and Zeus on it, or you can have the T-shirt with Zeus and an eagle if you're just like really into Zeus, or you know, really into Hermes. So if you have a Greek god that you really love, we have a design for you that doesn't necessarily have to have an Olympia Heights modern character on it. I wanted to give people that option because I did some surveys a couple months ago preparing for this, and there seemed to be an interest in that.
And Penny's drawing is just so badass. I impressed myself with it.
It's so awesome. I'm kind of, yeah, Sam's sending me all these elements and I'm putting them together in T-shirt designs. And I will be independently designing the wallpapers, the T-shirts, using, you know, the source art, but I want to make sure that they fit their aspect ratios and that I'm not just, you know, forcing a rectangle into a square. So you can see here I've put up the screen some progress on the Elysian Fields page. There's going to be some gorgeous halftone on that later on. And, you know, if Sam finishes it in the next few days, we might share it on the Kickstarter backer update. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll be sharing art. We really want this to happen, so please share. And if you can give, because if you decide to wait until the comic's out on Amazon, it might not happen if everybody decides that.
Yeah, there are some contingency plans, but those contingency plans will have you waiting 2-3 years for this to be done. So.
Yeah, the contingency plans are not nearly as awesome as Plan A. So please.
Plan A is about 8 to 9 yeah, about 9 months from now. Contingency plan is maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah, so let's work on Plan A. And I will be, for anybody who is in local to where I am, I'm going to be at Falcon in Montevallo in about 2 weeks. I think it's the weekend of the 18th. And then I'm going to be at Conjuration, which is a Harry Potter convention in Atlanta, the weekend of Halloween. I'll be there with my cardboard cutout, begging people to back my Kickstarter. So stop by the table and say hi if you're going to be at either of those conventions. I think Conjuration, I'm actually going to cosplay Harry Potter stuff because I'm going to a Harry Potter convention. Why wouldn't I? So stop by those events and, you know, share. So thank you for any watching that you might be doing, whether it's live or on YouTube afterward. And I will put a link in the show notes to make sure that you can find this Kickstarter project. But once again, tweet, use the hashtag Olympia Heights if you can. Oh, let me click back on me so you can see it. And Kickstarter URL, you can go and see a whole bunch of stuff on the website, http://www.olympia- the dash is important, heights.com/comic. And
Do we want
follow me on Twitter.
Do we want to just pitch any other, you know, our past work or other current projects?
Yeah. You can get the first novel for free on Amazon right now on Kindle and on iBooks in case you want to get into it already. We also have The Interminable Cockroach Man, which is a webcomic that Sam and I work on. It is, hang on, I will put some workplace and school filters, unfortunately, don't like this URL because it has a naughty word in the first half of it, but cockroachman.com. It is a comic about a Golden Age superhero who is cryogenically frozen and thought not quite right, and a CIA agent is made to be his sidekick to babysit him and point him at the bad guys.
And you can also see Amy every 2 weeks talking to YA authors.
It's going to be every 4 weeks, kind of, but for some reason, I don't know, the schedule was a little off with this month. October 28th will be, well, actually, tomorrow night you can go to YA Podcast, let me get the URL, but YA Podcast, which is on, there's an Android app, and it's on iTunes on the podcast section, YA Podcast. I will be on as Amy Jones's guest. Talking about my steampunk novel, Rescue Royer Goldhawk's Remarkable Journal, and I'll plug this Kickstarter once again on that show. I've already recorded it. And then on October 28th is the second episode of YA Hangout with Amy Evans. She's the author of Clicks, that she is my co-host, and we bring on a young adult author. Our last episode, the first episode was last week. We had Misty Provencher, and she was on promoting her book, and we tweeted something, somebody tweeted something to Lori Halsey Anderson because we were talking about her, and she retweeted it, so we were pretty darn proud of ourselves. So if you like young adult literature, YA Podcast, YA Hangout, October 28th is going to be the next YA Hangout show. What else? Oh, Mars 1. My husband's sci-fi vampire novel. We are finishing it up, and we should be releasing it. Just follow me on Twitter, and I'll tell you when you can pre-order that. It's space vampires. It may or may not have space vampires, and it's really metal and really dark and epic, and there's lots of action and blood and funny stuff kind of sneaked in there. But it's really mostly like Battlestar Galactica. Do metal had a baby, and that baby was a vampire.
I did
awesome.
A CG trailer for it, which will launch with the book, and it had my computer tied up for a good week.
Yeah,
rendering.
It's kind of hard to render blood in space. So
yeah, look forward to that.
Those are the things going on. Are there any other plugs that we need to make?
I think that's.
Yeah, go to the second backer update. Go to the bottom and click on that Project Thunderclap and pledge your social media support if you've already backed the project, or if you haven't, just to get another boost out on October 25th. We are also going to be featured in the Shobo publication newspaper this coming week, and we're working our butts off. If you have a blog or Facebook fan page or someplace where you would like to feature this, feel free to contact me. My email address is amy@amyleestrickland.com. Feel free to contact me. I can send you pictures. I can do an interview. So anything this month, I will not sleep if I have to cover everything I need to do for this project. So if you would like to feature me somewhere, feature my project, I would appreciate it greatly. Anything else, Sam?
I think that's about it.
All right. So keep being awesome, and thank you for watching.
Bye.